it's crazy, but it's
You're watching Channel Z, the world's leading zombie apocalypse channel. Broadcasting live from Studio Z.
Makes me act the way I do.
And I'm your co-host, Dave Lundberg-Henrik.
We love brains.
We do. We love brains.
Yeah, and we have a special launch episode today. We are launching season 4 of the Zombified podcast.
4, that's amazing. That is 4 whole seasons.
We have been around for 4 whole seasons.
Yeah.
Well, at least 3, and now we're trying to get through the 4th.
Oh, that's a good one. So, but yeah. And
we did have a little bit of a break, though.
we did.
But we're refusing to
we're
die.
Refusing to die, exactly. So, and that's the theme. That's the theme of this season, right?
That is absolutely our theme this season. We are refusing to die. We're refusing to die of the zombie virus. We're refusing to die metaphorically. We're refusing to die culturally. We're refusing to die in every way. We are here and we are fully undead.
So have you been zombified by your refusal to die?
Probably I have been zombified by my refusal to die. I definitely, especially lately, have felt like I just need to, take life on as fully as possible, and that might be to a certain extent driven by my refusal to die.
So what is refusing to die?
Oh, for me, I guess it means, on one hand, taking care of yourself and managing the risk for yourself and your loved ones so that you don't actually die. But then it also means like not letting your soul and spirit be crushed by the forces of the world, whether it's, art, music, dance, or podcasting,
That's true.
we all need our outlets to make sure that we're able to really engage with the world in a way that makes us feel alive.
Yeah. It's tough though. It's tough to figure out how to feel alive and feel like we're living in a way that helps, right?
Absolutely. And these days, especially, I think there are so many forces that are zombifying us that we have to really think carefully about how we can, even if we can't be fully alive, at least be undead.
Right. And less zombified. So
A little less zombified.
And so who do we have on this season?
Well, we have an amazing set of guests, some of which we have already talked to, and some of whom we will be talking to in the coming week. So I guess it was 2 weeks ago we talked to Bob Cialdini, who is amazing and is kind of your honorary uncle, right?
Yeah, he's pretty good friends with my dad, who I think might be my dad. Oh, my dad made it. Good.
Your dad's here.
Yes, my dad is here.
He came to see your podcast.
He came to see the podcast. So I've known Bob my whole life, and so my dad's advisor when my dad was in graduate school, and so and that's a great episode. I think do we have the art for that?
I don't know. Neil, are you here? Neil, have you gotten the art done yet for the Bob Cialdini episode?
Listen, back off, lady.
Neil,
I'm getting to the point where I'm a bit sick of the demands. You know what I mean? You guys are really cracking the whip here. It always comes down to the illustrator guy, doesn't it? Make up time, please. I've heard there's like a union around, like a zombie illustrators union. I'm just saying, I'm considering my options. All right.
Neil,
right, back to work now.
Neil, your work is brilliant. We love you.
It might be too late for that opinion.
Speaking of too late, finish the drawing of Cialdini.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing it.
All right.
Well, I think that we should bring on our musical guest tonight.
Yes.
So we are so lucky that we have with us here for ZAM 2022 the amazing peer-reviewed rapper Baba Brinkman. Baba, welcome to the show.
Base, we're live, we're together. Yeah.
Baba, you want to sit with us for a second when we can?
Let's chill out.
Yeah. So Baba, you have been maybe zombified a little bit by the idea of zombification.
Yeah. Thanks to you largely, as one of the world experts. But zombification is very much in pop culture, but it was interesting to discover how real it is in the biological world, especially in insects and mollusks. And, there's amazing examples of hijacking nervous systems for the benefit of parasites that can help us learn about how zombification works. So, you're writing a book on it, right?
That is true, yes. Well, I might be able to give us a little bit of an acoustic taste of the Ballad of the Zombie, the song that you wrote about zombification itself.
I would love to. And I was reflecting backstage, and I realized that when we premiered this song 2 years ago at ZAM 2020, we screened the music video and then talked about it, but I didn't perform the song. We just showed. So this actually is the first time I've ever performed the song live. This will be a world premiere. Yeah. I loved working on this track, and somehow I really related to the topic because the modern world does seem to hijack our nervous systems in all kinds of ways. So maybe social media and green-banded brood sack worms can be seen as analogs to each other.
I love that. All right, Baba.
All right, let's do it.
Ready to rock out with me if you know the words and sing along. It's the ballad of a zombie. Ballad of a zombie. Like a slave to a parasite. I got a hatchet and I'm burying it. It's the lament of the zombified marionette. I feel my limbs moving, but I'm unaware of intent. Like there's something parasitic in them. I can't escape inexplicable forces. Got me sprinkled in spores, just like a bullet ant. Infected with ophiocordyceps, gripping a branch. Fungus ripping my cortex. Every leaf in the forest littered with corpses. I can relate. Parasitic organisms promote their fitness at the expense of a host and evolve to control the veteran hosts, evolve defenses to promote their own interests and fall victim to novel stimuli like scrolling Twitter. Hijack, you got me screenified. Hits of dopamine arrive, extended phenotype, retweets and likes, keeping eyes locked like a green-banded brood sack worm in a snail's eye stalk. So this goes out to all the profiles I stalk. It's about the zombie. I don't know. Ballad of a zombie. I feel an urgent pull and it's got me feeling like a zombie, like a slave to a parasite. Gotta get it off the brain. It's got me acting wonky. Ballad of a zombie. Zombified for the thrill of it, jacked on euphoria, cicadas high on psilocybin, dripping massive spore, spores, junk completely gone, and all they want to do is get their freak on to the zombie theme song, a parasitic meme song. Apparently we evolved to pass genes and these on over eons, ideas, beliefs, thoughts, true or not, you're nothing to them but a cockroach to a jewel wasp. And yeah, some of those memes do keep you alive just long enough for their progeny to eat your insides, defend your beliefs till you die, despite the blunt trauma, like a caterpillar defending a pupating wasp larva. Horrible, but part of our lives, unignorable, posting articles online because someone called you deplorable, curating your feed when you're the feed, the product being sold like a crab grooming a sack of Sacchalina barnacles. So this goes out to everyone who's in a cult. Of a zombie, I don't know who's in control. It's not me, but it's got me. And it's urgent pull, feeling like a slave. I'm feeling wonky. Zombie. Relationships aren't all bad. I have kids to answer to. I'm the one they call dad, so I provide. Taking out the garbage at night, fully aware that my relations are making me zombified. I love my wife, and that's how I get manipulated. My cheater detection system disabled. Reciprocal altruism doesn't begin to explain it. Full cooperation, even unenvenomated. Like, I get it. She's got all types of cares to avoid. Like a Russian doll, baby. Hyperparasitoids with fleas biting fleas and smaller fleas to bite them, and even me biting scientists ad infinitum. What are we? Nothing but lambs slaughter, nothing but crickets led by myrmidid worms to the water. Nah, because we can skeptically see when we're zombified, and sometimes wake up when things are out of line. So bring on the bite. Bring. It's the ballad of a zombie. I don't know who's in control, but it's not me. Ballad of a zombie. I feel an urgent pull and it's got me feeling like a zombie, like a slave to a parasite. Gotta get it off me brain. It's got me acting wonky. Ballad of a zombie. Zombie, I just who is in control? To a parasite. Ballad of a zombie. Ballad of a zombie. Ballad of a zombie.
I kind of like it that way in a way because it's like you really get to focus on the lyrics and the flow. Video, there's a ton going on. I really recommend everybody who's watching the feed. Ballad of a Zombie, YouTube, Bubba Brinkman, not till after this stream is over. But my friend Roberto De Jesus edited it, and he's a pop culture maven and has seen every zombie movie and every zombie TV show. So go treasure hunt all the clips that he put in the music video because there's a lot.
What's your favorite example of zombification?
I think, well, what day is it again? different days I have different favorites. You know, the one that I start with in the song, I think when you asked me that exact question 2 years ago, I said it was the cicadas dripping massospora because there's a psilocybin element to it. But one of the things I learned when researching for the song, which is totally fascinating, is the Ophiocordyceps infection that gets into ants. And they did some recent studies, and it's actually not the brain that's controlled. You probably know this from your research, but I was surprised to find that the brain of an ant that is infected with cordyceps fungus is fully functional and unaffected, and the fungus is actually in joints, and it's controlling musculature to pull the ant forward and up the leaves, and the ant is as intact as an ant can be cognitively. Like, what the hell's going on here? I'm trying to turn around, but I can't, because it's actually like its mechanics of its ligaments and joints and muscles have been taken over by the fungus, which is, you know, kind of mind-blowing in terms of what evolution is capable of. Because not only can it evolve a wasp that has the ability to lick its way into a certain part of a cockroach's brain and stimulate a thing that takes it to the nest, it can also evolve the specific mechanics of controlling enhanced ligaments and just move its body with no effect on the brain.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, all of the amazing things that evolution has done to make us organisms, the, you know, coherent entities that we are, that are like these, you know, amazing examples of cooperation, a lot of those same tricks can be used against those organisms to hijack them.
Yes, absolutely true. That's the, you know, the novel stimuli trick. You take the ancestral environment, which was adapted to react a certain way, and then you introduce something totally new that is exploiting your host. Except we just always have to remember that we're the hosts. So be vigilant.
Yes, we are. We are the hosts. Dave and I are both the hosts.
Excellent hosts, too.
Yes. So, Baba, today we're talking about refusing to die. Have you been refusing to die over the last few years, or are you sort of okay with death.
Well, I was listening to you guys talk about that theme, and I was trying to put myself in the shoes of an ant infected with cordyceps. Refusing to I'm going to see this through to the end as a massive fruiting body explodes out of its head and rains spores down. Like there are such thing as glorious suicides, I would say, not the kinds that usually end up in the news with jihadism or kamikaze fighter pilots hitting into ships, but maybe like knowing that you're continuing on is going to cause a lot of pain and suffering to your conspecifics. If you're like, if you have the suicide vest on, you didn't put on yourself, and you're being compelled to, ride a train into a busy city, maybe jumping out the window is the more honorable thing to do. So I don't know. Refuse to die depends on the context.
So you're saying if you're so zombified that you're actually going to do harm to those that you care about, then maybe don't refuse to die.
Yeah, well,
I'm
not promoting suicide. Don't misquote me. But refusing to die in absolutely all contexts. I can imagine contexts in which death is more honorable than refusing to die.
Well, another thing that we worked on together, right, was Revenge of the Somatic, where we're talking about cancer. And cancer cells, they refuse to die, but they do harm to the body by refusing to die. So when we switch scales, then maybe we can see a little bit more clearly where sometimes it can actually make sense. So cancer cells, when they are basically mutated in a way that is going to make them do harm to the body, they're, ideally are all these systems that make them apoptose, make them commit cellular suicide so they don't destroy the host.
Yeah, I think the important thing is making sure there's a clear analysis of the cost benefits and the consequences of each action. I think in almost every case, you're better off to persist. And I think I read something once, like an evolutionary psychology study of suicidal ideation, and it's often linked to a sense that you're a burden on your family or a sense that you're a burden on your community. And it was a kind of adaptive hypothesis of suicide as an analysis that you can do more by removing yourself. Kind of like in Game of Thrones, where the older men go hunting into the snow, and then they just never come back because it's another mouth to feed. If you have that feeling in the modern world, you're probably not accurate. You probably would do better by sticking on. You need a real famine to justify that kind of behavior.
Ed Hagen is going to be here.
Oh, was that his study?
That was his study.
Okay,
so we can talk more about that when he arrives.
Okay. See what he says about refusing to die.
We will. We will see what he says about refusing to die. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, that would be really interesting, because I know my dad and I have actually talked about, is suicidality actually just you thinking I should take more risks? Like normally if you were like, I got to leave and I got to go hunt for something, you might die or you might catch something. And then, so it might not actually be the death. Is
that 1% chance of bringing back a kill is not technically suicide. It's just a huge risk.
It's a big risk. But if it's a big kill, then
or maybe you're just hijacked by microbes that are trying to get you to do something crazy so they can eat you from the inside.
That's
just a hypothesis.
Which is the microbes committing suicide, unless you're cannibalized.
Because they're going to eat you from the inside. They want to feast on your flesh. So.
But then don't they all perish once your body
not necessarily. I mean, it depends on what they're.
You could eat, and then.
But they can, live on in your rotting corpse for quite a while until they can infect someone else. We don't have to get into all the details of this.
Only a corpse-eating cannibal. They can live on in the gut of a vulture.
Baba, we're going to bring you back on at the end of the show so that we can do some live.
So don't die on us.
Yeah.
So.
Refuse to die at least for the next 34 to 40 minutes, please.
Judging by this conversation, I think the raps at the end of the show are going to be very morbid. But I'm ready for it.
Baba, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Next up, we have a guest who we both know quite well and who the Zombified media community knows quite well.
Is this? We have a couple of guests.
We have two that
which
both fit that category. I'm thinking of our very own Mzilikazi Koné. Mzilikazi, welcome. Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening, Mzilikazi. So, you have been making your way through this pandemic with quite a lot of resilience, quite a lot of refusal to die on multiple levels. What are your feelings about refusing to die?
So through this experience of the pandemic, it's surely one, the sense of actively resisting illness or attempting to refuse to die or a different kind of adapt. So that's been central to my life the last few years, like for many people, that sense of really trying to maintain and hold that sense of refusal to die each day. You really have to recommitted to the project of refusing to die.
Yeah. And what does that look like for you in your life? Like, how are you refusing to die when you wake up every morning?
Sure. Well, one is probably just getting up at all. Right? You know, adulting ain't easy, as we know, or for those of you who know. So continuing to get up every day and engage, whether it's teaching or doing research, right? Participating in that way that's so active. And really the creation of knowledge and the work is in and of itself a refusal to die, right? The continuing to write or to continuing to teach. I think that is another refusal to die by saying, okay, we can do it another day. Let's keep on going. Right? Yeah. And beyond that, it's for me, but it's an extension when you think about the presence of students, right? Because needing to transmit not just optimism, because optimism without reality is not so good, right? But instilling a sense of resilience and resistance, which is necessary for us to continue each day.
Right. I think the optimism thing is actually a really important issue, right? Because, I mean, on one hand, we want to have hope for the future, but we also want to be able to see reality. We want to be able to face the risks that we are actually presented with without, having blinders on about what the, actual landscape is that we're living in. So how do we find that balance then between facing the apocalyptic reality that we are all living in today, and at the same time having that feeling of hope and optimism about where we're going?
Well, that's a great question. As a Black woman, as an African-American woman, I think that's really central to my own experience and story. To think about the stories of those who spent generations of enslavement, right? People who never witnessed the freedom, their own freedom, and yet cultivated and maintained a sense of hope that at some point, right, we would achieve, right? I mean, those people who somehow in the face of dehumanization and trauma and human trafficking still believed that there would be a time that there would be liberation, right? So if my ancestors in the face of that can maintain a grain of hope, I owe it to my community to at least do what they did, to envision a brighter future and to do my little part. I mean, it's like a grain of rice worth, but if we all do our part, right? Shoot, we got a rice dish.
I have a question. What do you imagine that brighter future comes from?
Liberation, an end of colonialism, an end of patriarchy and sexism, a real future that's based on not just equality, but equity. I think that is the vision that I maintain, and a future for our planet, right? Our very survival, not just the infighting and the conflict we've been able to create and maintain for generations, but yet the human project needs to come together so that we assure our own survival, and then beyond that, the survival of all of these different groups of people and ethnicities and genders and so on, right? So that's, I mean, it's a big dream, right? But so was the dream of my ancestors, and for many other groups, many other folks. I mean, the dreams are so big, yeah. But we have to dream big. I mean, we have to.
I think that's part of what refusing to die means to me. It's sort of this idea that we're not just going to wait out the end of our days and let things be the way they are, right? So it's like, given however much time we have, what can we do?
That's right. But use that time wisely.
Yeah. So what can we do?
Well,
to achieve the future you just talked about. Not, and Athena, if you have things you think we could do too, you know.
well, everybody, right? We all have different skills and talents that we bring to the table, right? So what I bring to the table is not going to be what you bring to the table, right? And that's what's good about it. It's like a potluck. You don't want all the same thing, right? So we really have to rely on our gifts, our talents, and not just that suggests it has to be innate, our desire to do something, all right? It's as simple, I believe, as showing up, right? Maybe you don't know what to do next, but you are willing to show up and building community, right? Because no one person knows all the things, but when we come together, right, when we have a space to talk and discuss and develop ideas, we realize which ways we can actually, okay, you can handle that part and I'll handle this part, right?
Yeah.
So we split the load, we
Yeah.
split the labor.
Absolutely. And this idea that we engage together as a community and looking at, what is the landscape of the risk that we face?
Mm-hmm.
If we look together at that and if we deal together with those risks, then we're simultaneously managing our risk, making it less likely that we're going to die. And we're building a sense of community, which then can help us to manage our risks better and help us build more community. So it can be this positive feedback loop where we are both reducing the chance that we're going to die as individuals and having more of a sense of being connected to those around us. So I think it can really be a truly virtuous cycle.
Sure. I mean, really just thinking, there's this statement that keeps coming to my mind, and especially in light of violence and colonial violence, this idea, it's not even an idea, but, genocides and massacre. I mean, this is littered throughout our collective history. But the quote that comes to mind is, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds, right? And that image, right, of being, experiencing collective experiences of violence and trauma, and yet we can grow. It's really not just adapting. We refuse to die.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So I have another question. So we have not done the podcast yet. What do you think we're going to talk about on the podcast?
Oh goodness, sure.
What do you want to talk about? We have 90 minutes to sit down
and chat together.
60 minutes. All right. Sometimes we go.
Wow. Well, what can we talk about? Well, me. I'm particularly concerned with this question of resistance and fighting. And even that, fighting sounds so exhausting, right? To be fighting all the time. Maybe there are even other ways of considering that, right? Developing resilience and building community. It doesn't always have to be just like, we're going to go fight, right? Our refusal to die, not just actively pushing, is in itself something beautiful. So we can talk about community building and organizing. We can talk about these different histories that have grounded us for this moment today, right? Because of course, what they say, no man's an island, no human's an island, right? We are the product of our history, right? And so until we acknowledge these histories and where we've come from and what we have persevered through, it's hard to kind of envision a whole new future, right? Because we didn't just like arise in this moment out of nothing, right? We've got, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers. I mean, everyone who came before who's a part of our own story. I mean, right, I'm no scientist, but aren't they literally in us, right? Or those who come before, aren't they really with us, literally with us?
There are many ways in which we are carrying our ancestors with us. So, I mean, there's just the genome that we possess of theirs. There's a epigenetic markers. So, you can pass along these sort of like tags almost on your DNA that come from previous generations. And then there's also microchimeric cells that came through your mom's line. So you can have actual cells potentially from your ancestors in your body expressing genes and dividing. And yeah, it's kind of mind blowing when you think about all the ways that we can carry that aspect.
Right? There's the thing,
That
everything
too,
that they've
absolutely.
taught you, through generation to generation. That's a part of you too.
That's right. Well, even like language, right?
Yeah.
The presence of being able to maintain a language as also representative of resistance and resilience. I mean, consider the colonial project. Part of what's so central about the project of colonialism is taking people's language. You can't speak this language. You must speak. What? I mean, we're having this interview in English. Or it could be French or Spanish. And yet we have to recognize, okay, this is a part of the colonial project. Some of the resistance to even that is when people say, you know what? I'm going to learn my indigenous language. I'm going to learn Twi or Swahili or Ndebele, right? As not only as a way to enrich myself and my experience, but as a way to reclaim what has been taken, reclaim what has been, well, maybe lost isn't the right thing because it's still there, these threads, but to go back to it and say, I'm going to invest the time and energy in my language, my ancestral language. And sometimes you don't even know which one is yours, but the part of resistance remains. For example, there's a college near me called SINC. It is Indigenous Nations College. And what stands out to me about that college, and I had the opportunity to attend their graduation, their first graduation, is that these are Indigenous students, right? Native people who are learning Indigenous languages, right? Who are learning language that has been taken, right? What does it mean to have your language stripped, right? I mean, language passes your culture, passes, as to your point, right? All these things that get passed down through it. What does it mean to say, you know what? I'm going to learn that. I'm going to bring that back in my own family, in my own community, through something like learning a new language.
You know, great. It's also kind of wild to think about that. Like when we were just talking about the things that are part of you, those sort of lost things that are still part of you, you know, you just don't, we may not know them, like, and those are things that we're refusing to let die.
That's right. Absolutely. Great.
Which actually is a pretty good transition to
our next guest.
Yes. So
thank you so much, Mzilikazi. And so our next guest is Liz Grumbach. Liz, would you come out here and join us? Liz. Thank you for being here with us.
It's so amazing to be here, and I get to sit next to my dear colleague. Hello.
Hello, Liz.
Hello.
So we're talking about refusing to die, and I have noticed that you seem pretty resistant to the whole dying thing.
I am just trying not to die on so many levels. Which level could we talk about? I'm not sure.
Where do you want to start?
Oh, okay. So I think the most recent refusal to die is like related to what I do in my job, but I'm really, really refusing to let the like techno-capitalist zombies get me and like eat my soul and my brain and my creativity, I think.
How are they trying to get you?
Oh, okay. So I think this like tech, well, first of all, I want to fight Elon Musk. I don't know if I've made that clear yet.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So like technocracy in general and everything he stands for. But I also, I've been thinking a lot about how techno-capitalism means that they are kind of eating away our knowledge and creativity and that labor in a way that has never been done before. And that's the refusal that I want to make. I want to be an anti-techno-capitalist zombie. No, wait, that's not true. I don't want to be a zombie. That's what's up.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're refusing to be zombified as well. So
by the forces that do that. So we can talk about the kinds of technologies that do those things. We could talk about the power of algorithms to zombify us. I don't know. I'm on TikTok quite a bit. I know I'm being zombified by my algorithm, but it's the kind of resistance to the oppression, I think, that can happen due to these algorithms on like social media platforms, but also in the ways that we use other technologies as well.
So this ties into your interest in digital humanities. So, and that's what we talk about on the podcast that we recorded with Liz. That was just earlier this week, wasn't it, Dave?
That was just a few days ago.
That was just a few days ago.
No, I can't believe it. Yeah,
so
it was amazing.
Liz, can you maybe just like briefly, what is digital humanities?
I love this question, and I'm going to have a little spoiler, I think, for the podcast, and I'll just do this because I had a mentor once that told me that the definition of digital humanities, and this is what I should say, is teaching people how to use iPads so that they can read Shakespeare on their iPads, right? So the definition of digital humanities. Now, that was 12 years ago. I've been doing this.
That's the 12-year-old
definition
of digital humanities.
So basically digitizing white guys so that everyone can read them, right? And I think hopefully that the field has grown since then, and there have been so many folks that are not only introducing like more than just white guys into digitization, but taking back the kind of means of producing technologies that help us reveal things about the humanities using humanities methodologies.
So awesome. This seems like it ties in a lot with this idea of sort of lost languages, right? And sort of lost histories. And so, so we talk a bit about ways to bring those back, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Are we going to be able to bring some?
Yeah, so actually, I don't think I talked about this on the podcast, so I'm really happy to talk about it now. One of the projects that I worked on quite a few years ago was working with Indigenous peoples to teach computers, which optical character recognition, no one knows what that means, so just computers, to read Indigenous languages, especially Indigenous languages that were, basically no one spoke anymore except for elders. Working with those communities to digitize those materials, but also like preserve those languages in a way, and then make sure they controlled access to them, make sure they had the power to control access to those things. So there's all of these levels, I think, of interacting with digital humanities where you just have to proceed with care. And you have to proceed with care. Everything about technology has to be proceeded with care. You have to understand, I think, how the thing is built.
Absolutely. Great. Well, I think that it would be a great chance now for us to bring in our final guest. This is a guest that we've had on a previous season of Zombified, Tamas David-Barrett.
Should I just sit some there?
Yeah.
Hello. Yes. Hello.
Tamas, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here with us.
Where do I sit? Here.
Yeah, sit right here.
Hello. Great conversation.
I know. Tell me about it. I mean, when you have guests like Liz and Mzilikazi, the conversation is just going to be amazing. So, Tamas, how are you refusing to die these days?
The offer is not on the table right now. So I'm not sure I'm actively refusing to die. But yeah, it's quite interesting how our societies are increasingly managed not to die. So we live longer and longer. And the technologies that will help us even, I mean, you work on some of these, are about to be there. And then we're going to live, some of us will live for a very long time.
Right.
And that will be quite a challenge.
Yeah, well, and that's something that we talk about a little bit in the podcast that we did with you is
Right.
What happens when you have these demographic shifts, when you have people living a lot longer, you have smaller families, you have these sort of different kinds of structures. So what happens when people refuse to die in the sense that they are just living longer? What happens to our society in terms of the way it's structured?
Right. Is it okay if I do a plug?
Absolutely.
So if you go to BBC, there's a 157 years, five-piece episode drama series, where I was the scientific advisor, and the idea was that 10% of the people of the population randomly selected don't go for the mechanism. It didn't manage to work out, but live twice as long, starting at puberty. So basically, age twice as slow, starting at puberty. And it was very interesting to think through 5 different examples of what this means. Of course, it would have a lot of consequences for the pension system, for the welfare system. But do we have, if today, we adults moving slowly out of the patriarchy, have 3 big loves in our lives, will those people have 6 big loves in their lives? I mean, do we need to then? Is it qualitatively more? Is 6 more than 3? I mean, as it comes to infatuations, or what happens if you are a murderous bastard, and then they let you out after 25 years, and you live much longer? But the most interesting episode was written by a Nigerian writer who placed this question in rural Nigeria, where when at puberty all the boys were picked out as sort of princes of life because they lived twice as long, all the girls with the condition were killed as witches. So there are a lot right now that we haven't quite thought through. it was very interesting to 157 years. So it's brilliant. Use it, listen it with a proper headset because the sound is amazing. It's really interesting that we thought through, and I think our societies just have not done the work yet of just figuring out what will happen that we refuse to die.
Yeah, right. I mean, because at some point also, maybe there is a right time to stop trying to stay alive at all costs, right? There's, right? I mean, maybe there's some age. I mean, I know some people want to live forever if they possibly can, without regard for the state of their bodies. But
what was the age in? Oh my gosh, what was the movie?
Logan's Run.
Yeah, was it 23?
25.
25. So
yeah, so we'd have like 3 people left in the studio. But they're the ones who actually know how to run things, so it would be fine.
I mean, that's the argument, right? For maybe
correction, it's 30.
Oh, okay.
We might get one more person in here.
But all of us would be out. So,
but I guess there would be a turnover of ideas, right? Like if people died faster, like in a Logan's Run sort of
I mean,
scenario,
there is
right?
that saying, right, that science proceeds one funeral at a time.
So yeah. So
isn't that that we're not quite sure what would happen? Yeah. So if people can reinvent themselves every 10 years, somebody who would live for 200 years, 180 years of adulthood, that's 17 reinventions and 18 units of wisdom. So there's a lot of, so that stands against a bunch of old farts who weren't willing to change. Yeah.
Right.
So it's not clear which one of these two.
Well, right. Yeah, we would need the technology for both, right, to keep people alive. And this is I don't know if people actually get more stuck in their ways as they age, or if that's just a stereotype. I don't know if has anyone ever looked at that. So I have no idea.
Comment from Diana. I actually through it. She said it's interesting how much people sing praises of
Okay, we're good.
I sit next to him anymore.
I mean,
wow. Okay, that was terrifying. We had
Actually, the Wi-Fi went down in the whole building for a couple seconds, so we're back up.
So I wonder if in the future the way that we're going to keep people sort of reinventing themselves is just to feed them other people's brains that refuse to die, right? And there will be a market for that.
I mean, I do want to be a brain in a robot body. That is something that I would love.
Interesting. What do you guys think? You guys want to be robot body, human brains?
if it's like a bionic, hoping that my brain's going to heal itself a little bit after that attack. So
Yeah, I still help.
Okay.
I've thought about that too. Is there then going to be a situation where if you get like the first generation robot body, then the people who get the new ones are going to like look down on you? So
Like the iPhone.
yeah, I know. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, look, Liz is in a human 8. And so, so
That's what Apple wants.
yeah. So what does refusing to die mean to you, Liz?
Thank you. Thank you. I've been thinking about this quite a lot. So for me personally, I think refusing to die, there was an amazing article in the Atlantic today that was about how masking is awkward right now. And like I'm wearing a mask right now, basically because of that article, because there was a woman in that article that was kind of like, well, I'll be awkward to protect my community, right? And so we all have been talking about risk quite a bit, right? And I think there's personal risk, but then there's also the risk to community. So I think I'm not only refusing to die, but I'm refusing to let my community die, which I think that's what refusing to die means for me.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So it's like the opposite of like taking the risk to go get the mammoth. It's like you're like, no, I'm not gonna bring back the germs. So
Cool.
Oh.
All right. Well, Liz and Tamas, thank you for joining us. I mean, Liz, thank you. Tamas, I'm not sure really what happened just there.
Oh, goodness.
There's some very juicy brain. It is amazing.
Liz, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for sharing your brains with us today.
Thank y'all.
Tamas, thank
Thank you so much.
And well, I think now's the right chance for us to bring Baba back.
All
My
right.
brains have recovered enough. I think I can handle a little more brain explosion from Baba.
Baba, you made it. You made it through
Great
the
conversation.
show.
That was amazing.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about the conversation we just had? What do you think about
What are my thoughts about
refusing to die and
your brain
getting
actually being
involved?
eaten on stage?
Yeah, that part too.
I mean, I feel like there's an active resistance and sort of joyful persistence in, standing up in the face of oppression. And that's what we're talking about and doing. And, in very rare cases aside, I think we should always celebrate people who do that. So,
Yeah.
including everybody here.
Yeah, I guess I do talk about how the only way to really keep your brains safe is to share them. So maybe I should be more generous about letting people eat my brains.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, great. Well, Baba, would you maybe do for us a little bit of improv here with some audience participation and some engagement from our viewers also at home? We've got some comments rolling in. What do you want to hear from our audience or from here in studio or at home that can seed you here?
Check 1, 2. Okay, so one of the things that I found interesting earlier in the workshop was Mzilikazi and Dr. Hines talking about one of the great unanswered questions of reggae, the great mysteries, which was that it was spread by a whole lot of white people first, internationally outside of Jamaica. So that made me think of this beat that I want to play and rap over. So basically what this is a white British hip hop producer inspired by an African-American culture that started in the Bronx to become a hip hop producer and make amazing beats. And I was in his house and I was like, how about a reggae beat? And he looped up an old reggae song, sampled it, and made this amazing beat out of it, which kind of has like all of these threads of sort of cultural celebration. We won't say appropriation because I think it really is a tribute. And so now you're going to get a white Canadian from the wilderness rapping over a reggae infused hip hop beat made by a British producer. And that's how we share memes in the modern world. And yeah, so this will be all improvised. I'm going to ask the studio audience and everybody that's watching at home, feel free to go ahead and put comments in. And what I would like is, how do you celebrate life and resist and remind yourself that you're still alive, resisting death through sort of joyful celebration? What makes you feel the most alive? And I think those are the practices that we can celebrate in the rap. And, for me, it's rapping, so it's very meta. And here we go.
Go ahead and put some comments in there, and we'll do Zam soundtrack rap. Yo, Baba Brickman coming Zam with the rap like Mzilikazi Koné and Liz back, and plus Tamas David-Barrett and everybody here, yeah, we're celebrating Zam. Got these bomb beats, rocking with the zombies. See, I'm just trying to rock with all these people looking for your passions. Freestyle rapping, I see Pamela's passion. It's for dancing, so shake it out. Every single limb that you got, rock it out. Never worry about somebody watching out. No, indeed, yeah, just keep on going off. It could be simple things, right? Like petting your dog, yes, indeed. That's how I freestyle. I say rhymes. You get a lot of oxytocin off of those canines. That's how I spit it when I wrap it up. I like cuddling cats and dogs too, yo, Pamela. It's how it goes, yes, indeed. It's so surprising when I'm freestyling. I like singing and vocalizing, especially when it's about zombies and parasites. This is how I freestyle. I'm spinning it on mics. This is how it goes, yes, indeed. Yo, I'm just doing music. I get pleasure like you from working with my students, Alana. That's how I'm going straight off the top. It's improvised. I get zombified and hypnotized at Zam, Mzilikazi Koné and Liz Grumbach. I really hope you come back so we can sit on a panel together and just chill. This is Baba Brickman doing a little freestyle skill, yes indeed. Check it out. What is that? The digits. Does that actually say community fridges? I get it. People just like to share, bringing food together because sharing food does oxytocin pleasure. Yeah, that's how it goes. That's just how we do this. It's freestyle at Zam. This here is live music, so groove to it. Let me see you all dancing in the studio audience. This is the night's enhancement. It's the first night of the next Zam season. This is freestyle. Do we really need any kind of reason? It's off the top of the brain. Yeah, I'm straight rocking this. What's happening under the hood is probably largely cognitive. Yeah, indeed. It's so easy. Open my head and wait for Tamas to eat me like he ate Athena a second ago. Delicious. Ah, that's right. I see him flipping his lips quick. Yeah, check it out. That's the planet that I'm on. But sorry, Tamas, I think you just got some prions. Yeah, it's how it goes. Yeah, freestyle, it's infinite. Showing I got gifts like the randomness that's gifted, like Jason Scott said. Yes, indeed, with acquaintances. I'm freestyling. Sometimes that means brainlessness, because it's the flow that comes through my body like a conduit, demonic quick, huh? Sometimes I'm just flapping my lips, saying not a lot, but sometimes I'm watching love and stuff. Yeah, I see ideas like zombie movies bubbling up. Yeah, it's how I freestyle all day, or maybe for more than one day, like 28 days later. Those are fast zombies straight up chasing me, freestyling with the virus, getting the Wi-Fi quick back in the house. Yes, indeed, it's communicating with me. I'm just one of those weird blistering MCs bringing the heat. That's how I do, spitting the dope stuff. Yeah, chilling right now up in Arizona at ASU with the straight hip-hop. Everything I say I just make up. You could call it improv. It goes in strange directions as I follow them like pathways, freestyling all day. Yeah, doing my rap thing. Yeah, indeed, this is how I just go off. I'm kind of poison. It's just if you lick me like rainforest frogs. Yeah, like a little bit of red, yellow, and green. You could try it though, I'd be kind of keen. Yeah, that's how I say it. The words never stop. Licking people, that is Tamas's next workshop. All right. Those who know, know.
That was wonderful. Although you might have given him some bad ideas.
Now just hold still, and someone's going to slowly run their tongue up your face. Apes have buttons, and we're going to push them.
You may need to take your mask off.
So Baba, how do you do it? How do you just look at, a bunch of words on the screen and then have this, rap just flow out of you?
Well, the short answer is I don't really know. It's just instinct and practice. But for me, I did not start good at this. I started obsessed with it. And I was listening to rap, and I was going to freestyle battles and competitions and performances in Vancouver and watching the rappers. And I was like, this looks impossible to me. And so I started doing it, practicing it. And what I experienced was, like, I could get a couple of lines out. But if I got one good line out, I'd be like, oh my God, that was an awesome line. And then I'd be like, wait, what was I saying again? So, part of it is like shutting up your inner analysis of what you're saying and just on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And there's been some interesting research on freestyle where they put rappers in a scanner and they find massive deactivation of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is the inner monitor or the inner critic that sort of assesses your behaviors and checks them against expectations of social disapproval. It's how we keep ourselves conforming to the norms that would cause people to dogpile us if we violated them, like Tamas does all the time. So deactivation of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is kind of a necessary condition of improvisation, because you got to let yourself go. But we're not all getting naked and crazy and spitting gibberish. There's got to also be an organizational component of it. So the way I experience it is sort of a little bit like a natural selection process. Like variations pop up cognitively. I don't see them, but I kind of like think, I imagine a series of concepts, and the mouth keeps going. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going for that one. And the other ones all fall away. And then when I get to that one verbally, then a whole nother series of possible directions shows up. So when I'm looking at the screen, I'm basically just foraging. I'm visually foraging for possible paths that the rap could take. And it took a lot of practice to have the mouth continue with the previous line while the brain can figure out the path for the next line. And, so practice is key. And I think on Saturday, I'm going to be doing a workshop with participants at ZAM, and I will try to get us all into the freestyle mindset and have some novices rap about their scientific research, and it should be a lot of fun.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, so it sounds like it's really something that you can train for and that you can teach, this ability to freestyle. Yes.
And I think it's very analogous to theater sports, improv theater. So they teach you yes and that's part of the no second guessing. Take whatever happens and build something else on top of it, as absurd as it might be, based on what you're, the direction you're taking it. But that is what makes each contribution be a continuation of a story. And I think maybe you could think of rap freestyle as like a, inner cognitive analog for that. You don't ever feel bad about the last thing. You just try to figure out the next thing and keep building. But I think it's very therapeutic, actually. I find like freestyling makes me feel energized, and sometimes I say things where I'm like, "Ooh, I didn't know that was in there." And there's a meditative aspect to it too.
So, is it part of your refusal to die to kind of keep making this amazingly creative rap?
Well, I think part of my refusal to die is the fact that I'm turning 44 on Saturday. And when I started rapping, I did not think I would be rapping in my mid-40s, because rap is a very young art form. And as I've aged as a rapper, I started rapping at 19. So it will mark my 25th year of practicing the craft. And all the other rappers that were the founders are aging with me. So if I'm worried about being a rapper in his 40s, I can look to Jay-Z and be like, he makes it look cool. And he's like 5 years older than me. But it's an interesting question, because like the oldest rappers are in their 50s. What does a rapper look and sound like who's in their 70s and still like throws down on the mic? And I'm kind of, for me, that's what refusing to die looks like. Like, if I can freestyle in my 70s and have a bunch of young kids be like, dope, Grandpa, then that is staving off death right there.
Awesome.
Do people ever freestyle rap together, or is it usually just like?
No, you learn by interactive freestyling. So
really?
Yeah, it's called a cipher. It's usually like a group of rappers in a circle, and some of them are beatboxing and others are rapping, and they're taking turns. And the key is like take the last thing that the previous rapper said and rhyme with it and take it to a new place. So.
That sounds fun.
If we got any other freestylers in the house, come step on up. We'll have a cipher. But that's, I definitely like learn to do it that way. Yeah.
Cool.
Baba, thank you so much for sharing your amazing brains with us so generously tonight. It was a real pleasure to have you here, and we will have you with us all weekend here at ZAM. So
daily raps, I cannot wait.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for being with us here tonight. Zombified is a production of Arizona State University and and Zombified Media.
Yeah, and we would like to thank everyone who made Zombified possible, including the Arizona State University Department of Psychology,
the President's Office at ASU and the Interdisciplinary Cooperation Initiative,
the Lincoln Center for Applied Ethics,
all the brains that help make this podcast,
Tal Ram, who does the sound,
Neil Smith, who does our illustrations. How's that illustration coming, Neil?
Yeah, it's nearly finished. Thanks.
why don't you take his name off for now, and we'll put it back on when he gets it done.
Lemmy, the creator of our song, Psychological.
That's right. And the whole Z team, which has just done a fantastic job.
Absolutely. A round of applause
throughout
for the
the
Z team.
whole day.
Don't forget to follow us.
And like us. Also, I want to say happy birthday to my mom. It's her birthday today. So, okay, there you go. All right. So, but yeah, and buy
Follow us
our
on
stuff.
Twitter.
Yes.
On Instagram, we are Zombified Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Zombified Podcast on Facebook.
And where else are we saying? Support us. Yes. Give us money.
We have a Patreon account. You can find us on there and buy our merch. And tune in here on Channel Z also. We are producing all weekend our shows for Zombie Apocalypse Medicine Meeting 2022. And every Monday during the semester, we have a live show as well.
And also keep an eye out for season 4, right? The rest of these episodes are going to be coming your way.
About to drop.
So
thank you all for listening to Zombified, your source for fresh brains.
And if the whole world says that we're crazy,